The title of the presentation is Endophytic Microorganisms, Their Significance in Noni and Other Medicinal Plants. I make a apology at the beginning that I am not working on Noni as such. My work mainly is on horticulture crops, and based on the information which I have generated during the last 12 years on different horticultural systems, I am extrapolating or extending the work observations to Noni. And we all know about the medicinal significance of and other significance of Noni, and my topic is on whether endophytes play any role in the nutritional characteristics of the Noni. Now, by definition, endophytes are microorganisms which reside inside the plants without any apparent adverse effects on the host. They are supposed to be present in very few numbers, colonizing predominantly the root system and within the plants, if at all there in the shoot system, in the intercellular spaces, that is between the cells. I came to the area of endophytes through tissue culture routes way back in 2004, and tissue cultures we know generally considered to be exenic and aseptic. Now, while working with the tissue culture system of watermelon, we found sometimes the cultures which are looking apparently clean may not be, maybe harboring the microorganisms in a non-obvious or covert form, which is detected with the help of bacteriological media. Generally, we consider this only as contamination. Now, a case study with banana. We know banana is a common micropropagated crop, and we have the shoot tip used for the culture initiation. And when we test the healthy plants, we find sometimes there may be organisms which are able to, which are not, there is nothing we detect out of the tissue culture medium. There could be some organisms which may be detected in some sort of bacteriological media, not all the bacteriological media. So it appears that at the time of culture initiation, there may be some contamination, but then gradually all the cultures, or most of the cultures turn index positive, indicating that there are some organisms which are integrally associated with the plant. So this is a case of a very healthy looking banana plant. When we, there is no indications of any microbial association. When we study this, you can find different organisms which are present in the shoot portion, which are present in the root portion. So the plant may be going, it's being multiplied with these kind of organisms which are not actively expressed on the tissue culture medium, but they are carried forward with the plant through the field, to the field. Now, where is the material or the organisms coming from? Molecular studies have revealed that it is present in the shoot tip, usually present in a non-cultivable form. And our interest was to see where these organisms are actually residing. We have different, say more than 50 or 100 different species of organisms isolated from banana, and we found that the organisms are so integrally associated with the plant, they are colonizing just, in the first slide showed that they are colonizing just around the cell wall. And this is a video. Can you just play this? To play the video. I think it is. Are you able to see that one? The organisms moving inside, I think it's not. Okay. Here also, I think none of these videos are playing actually. Like what we find is that the inside of the cell, the organisms are actually able to reach the plant and colonize. They are integrally associated with the plant as intracellular inhabitants. It is generally very difficult to understand how any organism can enter. We know that they are able to enter the roots, they are able to enter inside the root, but how it can invade inside the cell and remain as integral component of the cell. We know the chloroplast and mitochondria are integral components, and they are considered to be of prokaryotic origin or evolved from the bacteria. Now we find that based on the molecular investigations and metagenomic analysis, particularly through the microscopic investigations, we find the organisms, diverse array of organisms are present inside the plants as integral associates. Now, when it comes to the endophytic organisms, the first question is what is the significance in, their significance or their role in the plant. Earlier we were considering very few number of organisms, and there are the reference to their implications in tissue culture, their utilization, plant growth promotion as biocontrol agents, then alleviation of biotic and abiotic stresses and phytoremediation. Now it emerges that many of the organisms are involved in the biochemical pathways which constitute the medicinal properties of different medicinal species, and noni is no exception to that one. And considering the endophytes now, we find implications in tissue culture. It appears that medicinal properties are usually attributed to secondary metabolites. The impression so far is that inside of the plants is free from the microorganisms. There is now a possibility of endophytes being involved in metabolic pathways, as has been demonstrated different medicinal plants now. Now, since we consider that inside of the plant is sterile, and in the absence of recognizing the microbial association, all plant activities, pathways and products are viewed as the property of the plant cells. Now, there is a report recently in 2014. They have taken up molecular based studies through metagenomics. This study was conducted in China by Yang et al. And studying metagenome profiling of noni seeds from different locations showed there is a wide array of organisms which are integrally associated with the seeds. And another report recently from 2014, they studied the noni plants, the different parts of the plant, roots, branches, leaves, fruits and seeds, and these 5 plant parts harbored endophytic bacteria, highly similar bacterial composition in all plant parts, and the topmost organisms are identified. So this appears that many of the organisms which have been identified are involved in plant growth promotion, plant protection and such aspects. And a recent report 2015, it appears Chinese are now really taking over the research on this aspect, the plant microbial association, particularly the role of endophytes in constituting the medicinal properties of noni plant. And they studied the different fungi which were isolated from noni plant and from the leaves and the fruits, and cultivable endophytic fungi were tested for their production, in vitro fermentation system. They were used for testing anti-cancer activities, which appeared that out of 14 isolates which were tested, some 3 were having really good anti-cancer properties on cell lines. So now it is based on this information which is emerging. Now it emerges that the plants have got diverse array of organisms as integral associates. Some of the molecular-based investigations which was conducted in banana and watermelon system show that there are more than 500 species of organisms which are residing inside the plants, which are not actually non-culturable and which are now studied through molecular approaches. Now it is significant to study the endophytic microbes in view of the fact that natural fermentation is the most important processing technology to produce noni products. Microbial association in tissue cultures, there may be interference from covert and non-cultivable organisms. Many of the tissue culture associated problems we find are resulting from the activation of organisms from non-cultivable form to cultivable form. And no tissue culture unit in the world, I can say now confidently, is free from this kind of association. The extent of endophytic microbial diversity in noni fruit, which goes into the preparation of noni extract and decoction, is one aspect which worth considering. Bacteria as well as fungi are there, and whether there are any organisms in the finished product. We have done a cultivation-based assay of the finished product, which has not shown any microorganism, cultivable organisms, but the non-cultivable organisms assume importance. Now, endophytic microbes form an integral part of the land plants, including the aerial parts, and they may be involved in different metabolic pathways. Tissue culture system for us formed a very powerful tool to study the endophytes. And there is enormous scope for the exploitation of organisms in agriculture and medicine. And with this, I come to the end of the presentation. I thank you for the opportunity to present my work.